Alrighty then. Hello. Welcome to a singular show for now. I think we'll have some other people on of Patriots. Lament. David's busy making cash money. I believe Corey is also. Mike Anderson's supposed to join me though. So let's see here. I will go over a couple things here real quick. We're waiting for Mike. Just a quick market report. Um, Gold closed up. It's bumped over 1,700 now to $1,715.10. Silver is in the green also, jumped up to $15.17. The other precious metals like platinum, palladium, rhodium. Rhodium was flat, but platinum, palladium were both up. Uranium, that's kind of funny. It's gone up almost $10 since this. It's been flat for a long time. It's kind of funny. It's gone up about $10. So wonder why. I don't know why. Crude oil is up today. It kind of bounced around, but it closed at $14.23 a barrel. So depending on who you are, that's either good or bad. Dow Jones up to 23,475.82. Nasdaq was up 8,495.38. The S&P 500 is up $2,799.31. And the dollar index is up to 100.34, which, if we go into currencies, that means the dollar is doing pretty well against the Canadian dollar. It's 141 to 1. The euro is 108. So, is 92.92. So it takes $1.08 to get a euro. And here's Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hey.
I'm just doing a quick market update here.
Okay.
The Brazilian real or real or something. This is the one I've been looking at for a long time. It takes 5.45 reals to get $1. So Brazil's not doing too good. About a year ago, well, let me look. About a year ago, it was about 3.5 to 1, but now it's almost 5.5 to 1. So the dollar's continuing to be strong in the world market. In cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin up, down the last couple of days, but it's up to 7,118.50. Ethereum is $182.31, and Litecoin is $42. So looks like most all cryptos are up today. Pretty interesting. The gold silver ratio is still about 115 to 1. So it takes about 115 ounces of silver will buy you a ounce of gold, which before we move on here, Bank of America of all places. I mean, this is funny. Bank of America is predicting gold to surge past 3,000 an ounce, which is really odd to have I don't know. I thought it was odd anyways, Mike, to have a bank say that, basically propping up gold. And the end of their article, or not their article, but the end of their statement, they say that and this is Bank of America again. Beyond traditional gold supply and demand fundamentals, financial repression is back on an extraordinary scale. So that's pretty big. That's that's pretty big for a bank to say.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought it was. Banks aren't usually the ones saying, "Yep, we're in a depression." Arr.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Gold will go up when people really lose confidence in the government.
The rose
Oh, yeah.
colored glasses, folks. So that's oh, I'm there. Yeah, I'm not gonna do the COVID. I don't. I'm not gonna say I don't care, but I don't believe the official numbers. So why give them the time of day?
Mm.
Really.
Are you still there, Josh?
To mark people that are dying in the hospital as COVID-19 related, even though he said he knows darn well, and they know darn well, it had some people that weren't even found to be infected.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of raising that alarm.
Yeah,
Um,
there was that mandate or that paper from the CDC, I think it was, that directed doctors to include on their death certificates if they had tested positive for COVID-19, and
right,
therefore the numbers cannot be trusted.
correct. Well, and he said that these were folks that hadn't even tested positive.
Mm, okay.
So, so he was kind of pushing back.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him too. Push back. Push back. Um, Before we get on to what we're going to talk about, there was one other thing relating to that, or was there? Oh, well, anyway, so this might, no, surely not. Hopefully we'll get, could be banned from. So YouTube CEO today said that they're going to be clamping down on people that say things that don't match with the World Health Organization as far as coronavirus. They will be
Mm-hmm.
banning people for that. And um, he said that would include anything, or she said, excuse me, anything that is medically unsubstantiated. And one of the things that she said, for an example, was to say that taking vitamin C or taking turmeric could help you. Not
Mm-hmm.
allowed to say that about coronavirus. So I have no idea if vitamin C can help you with the coronavirus, Mike, because I just don't. I don't know anything about it. But I do know that if a brother gets sick and pumps up his intake of vitamin C, YouTube masters, it helps. There's just no doubt about it. And
Yeah, it's
YouTube
helped me when
masters,
I've used it.
right? And it's been used. I mean, it's like people have known this for a long, long time. It's not like it's some kind of ooh. And in China, they're giving people the IV injections, the high dose vitamin C, the 24,000 milligrams at a time, and they said
Mm-hmm.
it helped. So, I mean, are we not allowed to report that, Mike? We're going to be banned for saying what other people have actually done. I know, I know it's a fact because my mother, who had cancer,
Mm-hmm.
she was really sick with it, and you know this too. We talked about it,
Yeah.
and even a doctor recommended do the high dose vitamin C IVs to get her
Oh wow.
strength back, and it actually helped shrink the tumor.
Mm-hmm.
So, YouTube masters, we bow. No, we don't bow. Screw you. It's the truth. If you want to ban us, eh. meh. There's other channels that we might move over to. Let's see. The other thing that they said that we're not allowed to talk about is any link to COVID-19 and 5G. Now, Mike, I don't have any clue if COVID-19 and 5G are related. I don't have any concrete, verifiable, I can look at it and say, yep, I know for 100%. But we're not even allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not convinced of that either. But I like to hear the information. I want to hear the information.
Right.
But I'm not convinced.
Why aren't we allowed?
Yeah, why aren't we allowed to talk about it at all?
It's like, here's your 3x5 card. Now repeat after me. And anything else, we're not allowed to talk about. That's just stupid. Right. Come on, you two. What are you, a bunch of Nazi censors?
Well, yeah, actually, they kind of are, aren't they?
Actually, they kind of are. Not kind of, they have been. We know that. But I find it interesting, as we're getting closer to different states saying they're going to open up, Mike, and the president saying, we got to open the economy, and we have different governors around that are, I want to say taking the bold steps, but I mean, come on. How bold are they for doing this in the first place? It's ridiculous. So I don't give them much credit, but at least they're trying now. But it seems as we're moving towards that, the I don't want to say the other side, but the powers that be maybe are wanting to are kind of clamping down a little bit more, trying to restrict a little bit more. I just think that's kind of interesting. We'll see what turns out from all that. It's I guess I was just personally surprised, and it's not just that; it's some other things just kind of won't necessarily talk about that I've seen that are more restrictive this week than in the last month and a half of this situation going on. So something a little bit screwy there, I think. And we're not, Mike and I can lay down some pretty cool conspiracy theories about just about anything you want to talk about. But we're not even being conspiracy theorists here. We're just like, this is actually what's going on, actually what we're being told. So, you don't have to say conspiracy theory and then, shut it off. We're not talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking about reality. Oh, I just got a notification. Some schools will not open this fall, says the fascist Fauci. That's fantastic.
Wow.
Glad to hear that. That's great. See, there's always a bright side to everything, Mike.
But did you also see there's a guy from Harvard who was who gave a speech stating that homeschooling should just be made illegal? Did you see that one?
Yeah, they actually had an online. I decided not to bother myself with it, but yeah, I did see that. They said it should be banned outright because it's so terrible. One of the funny things about it was that he wrote in the article, or his post that he put up to announce it, he misspelled some words in the post. We all do that, but it's just kind of funny to have, someone saying we're the only ones that can teach, blah blah blah, but we can't get our own crap right. Yeah.
Well, it makes me wonder if they're not going to open the schools and you're not allowed to homeschool, what's the third option that they are looking toward? Are they looking toward confiscating your kids to educate them, since you're unable to? And since there's no public facilities to do it, so the state now has its own internal facilities to do it?
Oh, they can try.
I guess we're laying down conspiracies, right?
Yeah. They can try.
Yeah, they can try.
They can try. I got a little something for them if they want to do that. fact, I'll see if it'll show up here. How does that work?
That works real
This
good.
always works for Dave. Oh, come and take him, or try. Ain't gonna. So we're going to get into something that's called the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act. Some of you folks out there might think, wow, where does the state get all of this so-called police state powers over health emergencies? Where did this come from? I don't remember seeing it. You know, there's lots bannered around about state constitutions and the federal constitution. I don't remember any of these laws passing and blah, blah, blah. And Mike, I was going to bring this up after we talked about it, but I think we should bring it up before we talk about it, so it's in the back of people's minds. And that is that in Alaska, at least, the state troopers have said that state health mandates technically carry the force of law. Well, actually, this is the opinion of the guy writing it. Breaking state mandated quarantines, for example, could mean a fine of $25,000. When someone violates them, enforcement can get murky. Murky. I wonder what that is. Well, basically, state troopers said that they can't enforce it because health mandates are not law.
Right.
And because it's not a law, there's nothing they could do. And this is from a story from KTOO. I will post it up here once I remember how to be the host of the show again. But so they're basically saying that these mandates, you know, they're telling us that they hold the penalty of law behind them, which is kind of funny. Should law be penalty of law? I don't like that. Law shouldn't be something that's bad, you know. Well, if you do this, we're gonna. Anyways, but the state troopers are saying we cannot do anything about enforcing these rules because they're not law.
And everyone's going along
So,
with it because they think it is.
Is this the greatest shutdown hoax of our lives? We all just so afraid that no one even pushed back to say, wait a minute, where are you authorized to do this? And at the end of it, towards the end of it, the state troopers say, oh yeah, it's not a law, we can't enforce it. Wait, if it's not a law, what the heck are we doing?
Right.
So we voluntarily quit working. We voluntarily lost our jobs. We voluntarily shut down our churches. And, you know, Mike, we have always said that it is all voluntary. They can't make you do anything.
Right.
It's your hands that do their evil deeds. It's your eyes that spy on people. It's your feet that walk to do the evil that they tell you to do. You always have a choice to do what's right. Whether it's law, supposed law or not, you always have that choice. And this time, it's not even a dang law, and we did it anyways.
Yeah.
So again, Americans have no one to blame but y'all self.
In fact, that story, it has a nice little write-up about a guy who he flew to Alaska. Then he was going to go to his boat, and he was required to fill out the papers. You know, supposedly required to fill out that 14-day quarantine mandate. He refused to do it. The harbor master wouldn't let him go to his boat, so he waited till nighttime. He went to his boat with his supplies anyway, and just said, "I don't have to fill that out." That's exactly what you need to be doing. He did it. There's nothing the troopers can do. No one can enforce it. All you have to do is say, no, I'm not doing it.
And that story, he's in Southeast. He flew up from Washington. His wife is in her 70s, and doctors told her that she had a very, very high chance of contracting the disease. And if she did, she would definitely die from it. So he said, I'm out of here. So he took his wife, flew up to Alaska. He owns a boat. It's his boat. It's his private property. And he was going to throw his wife on it, throw himself on it, grab a few Munchables, and head out into the ocean. And he said, I will go out into the ocean and we'll quarantine the 14 days there. And exactly what Rick said, the harbor master snitch, the snitch. We're snitching on fellow Americans. We're trying to get Americans in trouble. We're trying. These people, of course, I think it was a woman. It was a harbor master, of course. And then, you know, you also have either I'm gone or Mike's gone. Anyways, so that harbor master went to some other government snitch, and they're the ones that went to the troopers, and the troopers said, meh. Oh, well, I'm sure the troopers would love to be able to put the hammer down on people, but apparently it's not a law. And they can't enforce it because they're law enforcement.
I don't know that they actually would like to put the hammer down.
That's a good point. I've talked to people that have friends and family that are officers, and they're like, we don't like this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the police officers really like snitches, like seeing grown adults snitch. I mean, when I raise up my kids, we say, don't be a tattletale. Don't be a tattletale. And then we grow up when we should know better. And their government says, be a tattletale. And we go, yeah. Hey, look at him. He's trying to be free in America. He's trying to be free in America. Oh, it's sad. So let's get on to this thing. What is, I need to refind it. It's called the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act. And it was written up by some good people. No, I'm lying. They're not good people. By the people at the, oh shoot, now I can't remember who their name is. Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah.
It was originally written up by Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, it was originally, let's see, here it says that the initial public health emergency proposal was drafted by the CDC in 1999.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And it was after 9/11, they reintroduced it. So what it is, it's a public health policy that they're saying that they would like people to, they would like states to pass into law. And it wasn't law. They don't make law, obviously. They had to change some of the wording when they brought it back to Congress after 9/11 because they had in there the words, they took out the words control because they originally said control people. And so they changed it to, excuse me, sorry, that hurt. They changed it to something like, not necessarily control, but to help motivate in this. Anyways, so Alaska, state of Alaska, signed it into law in the year 2005. There were several states back in the day that did not, but I believe they have all fallen in line to this Johns Hopkins University Emergency Health Powers Act. And what it does is it basically, now I'm saying basically because it's not the same thing, but what it does, it gives police powers to the state like martial law. But it's not martial law. So some of the things that you might see in here is, I've read the whole thing a couple times and a couple points here. These 14-day quarantines that they're having people do, right? The law that was passed, like by the state of Alaska, says that after 10 days of isolation or quarantine, the state has to get a court order to keep the person or group in isolation or quarantine after 10 days.
So that means that the document or the paper you're supposed to fill out when you get to the state is null and void on its face.
Right.
It's an illegal document, in fact. It violates their,
they
put out a document that violated their own law. So just, yeah, if someone gets in your face about filling it out, just tell them the document is in violation of state law. I can't be party to that.
Yeah, we're just trying to follow the law, Mike. You and I,
Right.
of all people I know, we try to follow the law to the
Yeah.
letter
In fact,
or
let's see.
something like that.
We ought to put up, we ought to give a link to that. We got to put up a link to that, and then people can print it out and carry it around with them.
Yep. Now, there are a few things. Are you pulling it up, Mike, or you want me to?
Let's see. I'll look for it here.
Okay. So, some of the other things that it talks about, which this is pretty interesting. It gives, now again, I'm saying this facetiously, tongue in cheek, it gives the state the authority to isolate or quarantine anyone who refuses to take a vaccination when it's deemed a public health risk. And we already see that coming down the line, obviously. Mm-hmm. So again, I say it gives the state of Alaska or any state or whatever the power. It's still nonsense, right? Mm-hmm. But according to them, they have the power if you refuse, even for religious reasons, to be vaccinated during a public health emergency. They can force you to be quarantined or isolated until you obey. Now, Mike, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist and think it'd be the best way to do that is put all of the people in one little area with a barbed wire fence and little hutches. Mm-hmm. But they could do that. Mm-hmm. It's been done before here in America. Ask the Japanese in 1940.
Right.
So I was looking, we'll go through some more of it, but I want to jump back and forth because that's what I do best. Change the subject. No, it's not. The state of Alaska Constitution says that the governor can only, and again, this is called the Emergency Health Powers Act. And if you will think back, if you've seen any TV or any media at all, the governor invoked the Emergency Health Powers Act, and other governors invoked emergency health powers. Supposedly, according to that law, they only have the ability to do that for 30 days. And then the state legislatures have to extend it themselves. He can't extend it on his own unless the legislature gives up, does the manly thing and gives up their duty and turns it all over to the governor. Again, I say that facetiously because you dirty rat legislators should stand up for people, not power. But we know that you don't do that either. Now, the state of Alaska Constitution says the only time the governor can do such a thing, of course, constitutions, we know how good those are. The only time they can do that is during a time of insurrection in the state or invasion of the state from a foreign enemy. Now, I realize, and this is why words mean things, there's a reason why President Trump and the different media has said this is a war, the unseen enemy, we're being invaded, emergency powers. But the governor did not invoke martial law. And the only time he can suspend the Constitution is during invasion, and that he has to declare martial law, and the legislature has to follow up with that also within 30 days. He has not done that.
Right.
All of this is illegal. I mean, we haven't even talked about it. This is illegal, according to them, right? We're not even talking about being anarchists or libertarians or minarchists even, and nothing like that. This is their laws. They're breaking their own law. And I imagine a bunch of them, like all of them, don't even have a clue because they're not smart. That's why we ask people not to vote. They're not smart. They're not any better than anyone else. Right. They don't even know what they're doing. I mean, I bet the governor was like, what do I do? Well, it's called the Emergency Health Powers Act. Okay, just invoke it. All right, I invoke the Emergency Health Powers Act. Oh, what's it mean? We'll fill you in later. Okay. That's literally how they're going along here. I'm making fun of it, but that's the truth. They're just playing along.
Yeah, so if you're at church, or you're at a gathering of 10 more people or whatever you're doing, and you happen to get arrested or cited or something, you can take it to trial, and they'd have to dismiss it, right? Because there's no law.
There is no law.
Right.
There's no law.
Yeah.
And the state constitution. You brought up the churches. The state constitution says the state may not infringe on any religious beliefs whatsoever. It doesn't say unless there's a this or unless there's a that. It says shall not.
Yeah, and
shall not. And all you Second Amendment folks should know what shall not means by now.
Right.
It's the same thing with religious freedoms.
Yeah, and the First Amendment covers it, and here we have something that's not even a law that's trumping the First Amendment.
Well, and that's the federal, but even the state constitution says the same thing. It says the same thing. You shall not. And the state constitution also says that to prevent, okay, what is it? The right to assemble shall not ever be prevented.
Right, and that's regardless of if it's a religious gathering,
I said that
or
wrong.
a secular gathering, or what.
Shall never be. They can't prevent it. Shall never, and it doesn't say unless Emergency Health Powers Act, unless COVID-19, unless blah blah blah. It's against the law. They're breaking the law.
Right, and the states have really put themselves in a position where they could easily be sued by churches and any other organization that has lost money out of this. Churches.
I'm glad you said that.
Oh yeah, churches.
No, go ahead. I'll find it.
Yeah, I'm just saying churches that are unable to get their offerings or their tithes because no one's showing up. Couldn't that be something they could sue over, monetarily and for legal reasons? And the states have really put themselves in a bad position if people realize that none of this is even law. It's all color of law, but it's all out. It's just out in the open. It's not even enforceable. The only reason that it's going on is because people are just going along with it because they're scared.
Yep. They are scared,
they are literally enslaving themselves. It's not the police's fault. It's not even the legislators' fault. It's the people's fault for just going along.
Trying to find it here really quick. I brought up the old Constitution here so we can.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get it wrong, so people are like, Freedom of religion, no law. So if it says no law, that would have to mean the emergency health mandate. Shall be made respecting any establishment of a religion or to prohibit the free exercise thereof. You can't stop the free exercise of religion.
And in addition, the model state health act, I can't remember all the words of that thing. They were passed by the states. The versions of it were passed by the states. The federal version they tried to pass in 2002, but they didn't get it through. And so it's all it's all within the states. But remember, now it's an issue of the state's supposed law is in violation of the federal Constitution.
Yep. And I'm looking over in the comments. Obviously, Christian over here talking about the Strait of Hormuz. We'll get into that because I got a few thoughts of that too. So assembly, the right of the people peacefully to assemble. or to petition the government shall never be abridged.
Mhm.
Shall never be abridged. So,
Right.
what the heck? I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure shall never. I don't know what shall never means, but I guess I don't know what it means. Okay, and you brought up offerings and stuff. Well, what about contracts? What about people's private contracts that they had to do jobs, work?
Mhm.
In the Alaska State Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Section 15 or Article 15, no law shall impair the obligation of contracts. No law can impair a private contract. It
Mhm.
doesn't say unless it's the Emergency Health Powers Act. It says
Right.
no law, period.
Mhm.
Rick, I'm right. I'm a spoonerite when it comes to so we're all spoonerites now with the Constitution, but not everyone is, and some people just don't understand or can't. Well, they would never. They break in their own law, which
Mhm.
you know that kind of goes along with John Locke's whole thing when you know a government basically breaks their own law. It no longer is protecting the liberty of the people. Well, then it's at war with the people
Mhm.
and at war with their liberties. So, did you post that? I'll post it
Oh,
up.
yeah. I was trying to
I'll,
get you one.
you talk, I'll post.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, back to the model. I was trying to get that. It wouldn't go through. Um, anyway, yeah, back to the MSEHPA. Okay, this is from the original version. The original version sought to be able uh, to inject you with with uh, see here's from Wikipedia. The Department of Homeland Security would declare public health emergencies instead of governors and be responsible for enacting forced vaccinations without informed consent. Um, the HSA, that was actually another version of it, was passed by Congress, but Section 304 was struck from the bill in 2003. So they never got that through. That was their original uh, hope was to be able to enact enforced vaccinations without informed consent. Um, and here's another quote for one of the supporters um, regarding legal powers, provided that those powers are bounded by legal safeguards, which is quite murky. Individuals should be required to yield some of their autonomy, liberty, and property to protect the health and security of the community. So this was just an all-around attempt to enact martial law um, by scaring the people into thinking that they were going to get sick. And it didn't get passed in the federal at the federal level. It ended up getting passed at the state level in most states. And so
Well,
this is
it wouldn't have passed muster as on the federal level, I believe,
that's right. Yeah.
because
So
they were focused on. John Hopkins University was focusing, which is interesting if you think about where are we getting all the numbers for the COVID-19 cases,
mhm,
all the infection cases, all the death cases, and everything. It's coming from the same people that created this law.
mhm.
All the numbers come from John Hopkins University. They're the ones compiling the list
Right. And
conveniently
they're
for us.
yeah, and they're also the ones that created the simulated pandemic numbers for Event 201 last fall. And all
Yes.
the ones that they do. So you know, so all these numbers that they throw out, you don't even know if they're real. They could just be simulations that they're running with the same software that they used during the mock event.
Mm-hmm.
How do you even
Yep.
trust these people? You shouldn't trust these people.
Never. And again, the Medical Emergency Health Act is not, even when they invoke that, that's not martial law.
Right.
Martial law is very specific. The governor has to declare martial law. And they don't, because we generally think people will freak out. And so they do something like the Emergency Health Act, and they invoke that and give themselves emergency health powers, which is just a weird, the whole thing's weird. And basically do the exact same thing that martial law would. Now we say, well, we don't see the troops walking around the streets, but not yet. And some states do have troops walking around the streets. So I guess our point is, for one, it's not even a law that's enforceable by the state police. The state police admit that they have no jurisdiction enforcing the act, because it's a mandate, not an act, not a law. And it violates the Constitution, obviously, of the federal Constitution, but also directly violates the state Constitution that the governor and all those legislators vowed, pledged, and promised to uphold. They took an oath, and they violated it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to act like I'm surprised, okay? Of course they did. That's what they do. They're state. That's what state does. State doesn't care. I mean, those are just words on a piece of paper. But they tell us we should care about it. So, like you said, with a class action suit, why is it just for churches? I mean, business owners should be suing them. Individuals should be suing them.
Yeah, it should be for everyone. Anyone who's lost anything as a result of this.
Which is everyone.
Lost their job, and an employee, whether it's an employee or an employer, business contracts, churches, whatever. If you've lost from it, you have the right to sue.
Yep. I don't see how you can't. Now, of course, the Emergency Powers Act does exempt the state of Alaska from most things that could result in it. But since it doesn't supersede the Constitution, then that doesn't really matter.
Well, since they didn't declare martial law, and since it's directly in contradiction to the federal Constitution, do they have any legal protection?
No, I think that's what they call a Title 18 act, action.
Okay.
Title 18 is all the stuff where you can sue the government and stuff like that. So that's what it would fall under. I used to know that stuff actually pretty good, but I'm glad I don't anymore because it was a waste of my time. And now here we are, and I wish I could remember it again. Title 18, I forget what sections they were.
Yeah.
But it's basically for suing the government for violating liberties. And Title 18 allows the person to sue the people individually too. So like, you're not just suing the state of Alaska. You would, I'm suing the governor. I'm suing this legislator, any legislator that voted to give him the powers. Now, of course, like I said, he invoked it himself, but he can only do that for 30 days. But the Alaska legislature extended that authority, so-called authority, till the end of November or the middle of November. I mean, talk about jumping the gun. What are you doing?
No, they can only do it on the 30-day schedule then. How they don't even know their own law, huh?
Yeah. And that was the same week that he invoked it. They extended it. They didn't extend it. They extended his power to extend it till the middle of November. And that was a week in. Right. A week. They had no clue. There's no, there's no information really coming in. They didn't have anything coming up that were, they weren't getting a bunch of information like, oh, we got all these people dying here. We're still, have we even reached, I think, has Alaska reached 300 people infected yet? I think maybe it has.
I think it's like 9 people that have died.
Yeah, I know that part. I guess
Allegedly, we don't even know if that's the case.
right.
They might have got hit by a car and they found out they had COVID-19 when they did the autopsy.
I guess we did say that we didn't care, so now we can't care what they say. And that doesn't go to say that we don't care if people we don't care if people got sick. We just don't trust the official narrative.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
But regardless, they don't have the legal authority. They don't have the right, whatever words we don't want to use, to shut down an economy over it.
Yeah. And this health act, like this, the Gates Foundation, John Hopkins is funded by the Gates Foundation. Gates Foundation is the one really pushing the vaccinations. The Gates Foundation announced today, made it a little more clear what their vaccination, their tattoo, what it can do. Mm-hmm. And the tattoo in their vaccination basically has all the information on you and says that you've been vaccinated. That's their excuse. Well, now we'll know, but they'll be able to track you with it for up to 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, and so we talked about that 2 months ago, that they were going to have
sure.
health IDs. They've actually been talking about that for years. They've been wanting to do that.
Well, and the Gates Foundation said the reason that they need to do a tattoo like that is because paper is cumbersome. You might lose it, yada, yada. It's harder for them to track a piece of paper than it is to track a little tracker in your skin.
What about people? What about people who have religious issues with tattooing?
Then they will be isolated or quarantined. According to the Emergency Health Act. You don't have, so they're not even saying that, okay, so there's 335 total cases supposedly here in Alaska.
Okay.
So they're not saying, it kind of seems like, according to the Health Act mandate, they're not saying that you have to take it. It's just kind of like this other thing I read in Revelations one time, book of the Bible. You won't be able to work. You won't be able to buy. You won't be able to sell. You'll just have to sit in your home, quarantined or isolated. Now, this is one thing I've never understood, Mike. Maybe you can enlighten me. If everyone gets vaccinated, why do I have to be? How am I a threat?
Because it's more money for Bill Gates.
Yeah. Well, you're right. So the threat is to have people not obey.
Right.
To not comply. That's the real threat the state has.
Yeah, and the real threat to us is the people who just obey.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing how people. Yeah, it's amazing how people will enslave themselves just to pride themselves by thinking that they're not wrong. You tell them that no, you're wrong. This response is a hoax. No, it's not. You're just a fool, and they don't want to be wrong, so they're willing to enslave themselves.
Yep. Now, Christian on here says that you'll be branded a bioterrorist, and that's very good because the Health Act actually says the first thing that the Health Act is to prevent is bioterrorism. And
I mean, we've been on terrorist watch lists before, anyway, right?
Oh, that's true. Kind of get lonesome when you're not. I mean, playing some Michael Jackson. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Sorry. Where did I go? Oh, well, I have seen more people reading some different stories and comments, like I think it was Instagram. These people are getting called terrorists for not wearing masks, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
that actually boggles my mind. But that, I don't know. If you look at it linearly and think about terrorism, what they made us fear about terrorism, and now making us fear about viruses and stuff like that, it just kind of all intertwines. And by golly, how amazing that they just happen to have a mandate, a law that they passed that just intertwines all of them into one, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They're such forward thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
What would we do without them besides be free?
Well, yeah, farm animals are well taken care of.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
But they do have
until
to
they're
cull the
slaughtered.
herd from. You have to cull the herd from time to time.
Right.
Now, do you have any thoughts? So, I was watching Fox News, so I see what the enemy was saying before we jumped on here. They had a specialist on there, doctor of, epidemiologist or something like that, and she is saying this go around, since it's going to be 18 months before we have a vaccination, that it is a requirement. It needs to be a requirement. It's so important, and I imagine we're going to start hearing more of this, where they might force this too, for everyone to have a flu shot at the end of summer. And her reasoning is we're going to have the flu infection, the normal ones that we see every year, and the COVID infections, and between the two, because she said that the flu was over with by the time we got hit by COVID-19, which is bull crap. I know people that have the flu here in Alaska recently, so that's stupid. But anyways, her reasoning is, if we don't, we'll have all these people in the hospital from the flu and all these people in the hospital for COVID-19, and that's a joke. So we might see them, and it's not too far out to think we might see them try to mandate the flu vaccine this year, or the flu shot, I guess.
Yeah, and I did see something. Let's see, I'll have to find the article again. It was just a headline I saw about. It was a military study that was done that supposedly said that the flu shot was correlated with a 30% increase in risk for COVID-19 infection. Now, I don't know if that's because people who get the flu shots might be older and they're the ones who go get tested. I don't know. I have to look up.
Decreased immune system, maybe.
Right.
There's more and more studies coming out that are not from like Josh Bennett or Mike Anderson, even though I think we do good studies too, that are saying that people over 60 years old should not get the flu vaccine, get the flu shot, because the numbers are going. And I don't know if it's because I think you're supposed to get it every year, right?
Yeah, well, they have different strains each year, but they almost never hit the right strain for the vaccine, because they have to give you a different vaccine for each strain, which is the same story with COVID. I mean, COVID-20 is going to be a different strain than COVID-19. So are we going to, and how many different mutations are there going to be? So how many vaccines are they going to have to pump us with? Bill Gates is going to get super rich, man. Much more than he can even imagine now if this continues.
Well, I'm just wondering why we're seeing more and more that they're saying that people 60 and above should really think about or quit taking it. And I wonder if it's because they're being shot with this year after year after year, where it's the body can't handle it the way that they tell us it can, and it's infecting them. And like Rick says right here, flu vaccine increases respiratory susceptibility. Exactly. And the older you are, you're already in a susceptible age group anyways.
Yeah,
it's kind of like with the whole COVID-19 thing anyways. Okay, if this is real, then we separate out, not forcibly, because if people want to get it and croak, that's up to them. But you tell, hey guys, it looks like we have something going on here. If you're in a high risk bracket, You should isolate yourself. And if you're really in a high risk bracket during the flu season, anyways, you should be careful no matter what,
Hmm.
right? You
Yeah,
shouldn't be running around with 50, 500 people that are hacking and their kids are running around with snotty nose and all that kind of stuff. You stay away from that, anyways.
right. Yeah, and there was a study done on coronavirus vaccines before. This was a few years ago, and they because this is not the first coronavirus. I mean, there's hundreds of coronaviruses that have already gone around. Anyway, so they did a study on coronavirus vaccines, and they found they were unable to come up with a workable one, because what they found is that the ferrets in the study, if they were given the vaccine and then reinfected, they would respond worse and often die because of the interaction with the vaccine, or with the antibodies that were produced by the vaccine. So you're in greater danger if you take the vaccine, according to that information, than if you haven't, if you get reinfected. My theory is that COVID-19 is not the bioweapon, but the vaccine then working with the next coronavirus is the bioweapon. They just have to force it into everyone. But yeah, your point also that you just made, um, I it's okay. Does one go out into the rain without a raincoat and then yell at the sky to stop raining on them? That's absurd, right? The When you go out into the environment, you choose to go out into that environment. The other people around you are part of that environment. You don't demand that the environment comply and comply to your phobias and your desires. If you don't if you're afraid of the things in that environment, you protect yourself from them. You don't demand that everyone else uh, comply with your wishes. That's not how
Yeah.
a working society works. When a society gets to that point, when everyone demands that someone else uh, be obligated to make them feel comfortable in their phobias, then the society falls apart. It no longer has a purpose, because the reason for society is for socialization, for people to communicate with each other and to engage in markets. And once you decide that someone else is obligated to you, you're no longer participating in markets. You're now the little tyrant, and everyone's a little tyrant, and society falls apart.
Right. You're not even society. You're not a part of society anymore. You've put yourself outside of society and put yourself above it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not exercising your freedoms by demanding someone else do something for you. It's just
Right.
like I can't stand you go out and someone says, "Why aren't you wearing a mask? You need to wear a mask." Then go home. You go home. You
Right.
don't tell me I go home. Hey, you need to stay 6 feet away from me. Then go home.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
we're in
That's
the same aisle and I see I need that can of Mountain Dew or I need those beans or
Mhm.
I gotta have me some toilet paper and you're standing 5 feet from it, I'm gonna walk over and grab me some toilet paper.
Mhm.
You can't say, "Hey, I demand that you stay." Then you move. You don't
Exactly.
tell me I have to be 6 feet away from you. You move 6 feet away from me. Now,
Mhm.
at the same time, I think you should be respectful for people, and if you know that someone's worried about it or someone could be um, in the category that's susceptible to it, you shouldn't run up there and grab them and rub your face on their nose and
Mhm.
spit on them and stuff like that. That's not right. That would be a violation of them,
Mhm.
right? But you don't walk around and say, "I'm Captain America. Everyone, I'm going to hold my flag 6 feet on either side of me and spin around in a circle. You better stay away from me. You better wear your mask. You better." No, you
Mhm.
go home.
Right. Yeah. There's yeah, a guy on my Facebook page is talking about, he went into one of the auto parts stores. I can't remember which one now, to get some parts, and he started walking toward the counter, and the clerk gets a 6-foot stick and points it out from in front of him and says, You stay back there. Pokes him, basically pokes him in the chest. And the guy had to hold it.
Oh,
The guy had to hold his temper back. I don't think I could.
no, I would not be too happy about such things.
Right. There'd be some broken stuff in the store if they did that to me. I already told about how I blew up at Walmart that one day.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you don't go out into the environment and demand that it conform to your wishes.
Right.
You stay home, and if you're really that susceptible or that scared of it, hire someone to go do your shopping for you.
Exactly. And there are in a free market, there will be people that you won't even have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Stores will offer that for free.
Yes.
And we might see a general raising of prices from it, but it won't be much. It's not going to cost them that much to do it. So, and saying all this stuff, it doesn't mean we're talking about keeping a polite society. And what's happening right now is not a polite society. It's not encouraging a polite society. When you tell people to snitch on your neighbor, where the Bible tells you to love your neighbor, and the man asked Christ, well, who's my neighbor? He said, let me tell you about everyone is your neighbor. The Good Samaritan, everyone's your neighbor according to him. And the state, which we all know is the devil anyways, so that shouldn't be a surprise that it contradicts the Bible. It says, snitch on your neighbor. And not just snitch, get your neighbor in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
We'll fine him. We'll throw him in jail. We'll beat him for you. You know how we've always kind of, and we've been mocked in the past about, because we've said, voting and stuff like that is holding the state's gun up to the head of your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I guess it is. That's what they're doing. Snitching is holding the state gun up to your neighbor's head and saying, you will do what I want you to do. Your society will be what I think society should be, which is impossible to do because we're all individuals. Fairbanks has, 70,000 people in the borough. So we can't all have my society the way I want my society to be when you go to the grocery store. Now, if you want to be that way at home, that's fine. Or on your property, that's fine. I don't get to come to your home and say, if you want to be 6 feet away from me, you shouldn't have invited me over. No, it doesn't work that way. But when we're out in public, when we're out in and conversing in society and conversing in market activities, and we all got to play together.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get to be the Iron Man that walks around saying, my way or the highway, rawr. Mm-hmm. Sorry, you get to go home.
Yeah.
You remove yourself from society if that's how you feel.
Yeah, go be a hermit out in a cabin somewhere if that's really how you feel. But even on the practical side of it, with the mask, I like to call them face diapers now. With the face diapers, okay, so you put a face diaper on, and it's supposed to protect you from the disease or prevent it from getting out from you into the environment, right? Okay, so you reach up there and just not even paying attention, you adjust it. Now you go to the food section and you grab a mango to check it out, see if it's soft, and then you go over to check the avocados, or then you go grab a can of soup or something, and now it's all over the place. Then you go to your car and you take it off, and you're handling it. It's on your hands again. Get it on your steering wheel, and then it just spreads from, even if you put gloves on, now it spreads from your gloves to the shelves in the next store that you go to. The only way to prevent it from actually spreading using PPE is going to be a fully contained biosuit that's decontaminated after every time you wear it, and then decontaminate your entire car after each trip. That's the only way it works.
Other countries are already doing that, Mike. You have to walk through a chamber. I'm not kidding. To go in the grocery stores, you get your cart outside, you walk through a chamber, and they spray you down. I just sprayed myself when I
Oh
said
yeah,
that.
my sister got sprayed in
They
the face
spray
with
you
some
down before you.
disinfectant.
Are you serious?
Yeah, someone picked up some disinfectant and sprayed her in the face accidentally while they were spraying other stuff down.
Oh, okay.
They're
I
just
thought.
being, yeah, no, it was it's just carelessness. Everyone's spraying disinfectant everywhere.
Right. Well, these are like they have their own little. It's a chamber with its own little jet sprayers,
Mm.
and you walk through it, and it blasts you with disinfectant. Like, who the crap's going to put up with that? I guess they did. Now, on the other hand, if it's actually a store,
Yeah.
so these comments are great today, which is good because we don't have call-in capabilities. Um, if it's a store and says,
Uh-huh.
okay, to come in our store to protect our people, whatever, blah, blah, our new rule is you have to wear a mask. So, you know what? If you want to go into that store, they own it,
Mm-hmm.
put on the mask. Go to
Right.
if you don't want to wear a mask, go to a store that won't, because I imagine some stores won't.
Mm-hmm.
They won't have it. And you know what? If they don't, if it goes on long enough, somebody will build a store and say, hey, we're open for business, y'all. Come on in. We don't
Yeah.
spray you with chemicals. We don't make you wear a mask. You don't have to wear a hazmat suit.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually the other ones will go out of business because people will stop going there.
Mm-hmm.
Because Americans like convenience. We don't like to be inconvenienced with masks. We don't like to be inconvenienced with getting sprayed down with some crap. We don't
Mm-hmm.
like to be inconvenienced with wearing a biohazard suit unless we're going in there to have some fun, which I still think we should. Oh, that would be great fun. But you know, if a store wants to implement its own so-called protections, that's up to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And there's no
We
legal
okay, so
there's
I
no
just want to
legal yeah, there's no legal authority for the state to mandate that anyone wear them, is there?
right,
I mean, we covered that already earlier. They can't enforce any of this stuff.
yeah. We so he said if you put on a mask, you consent to human authority. We
Mm-hmm.
always consent to some kind of human authority, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Just about every day we do. We
Yeah.
we don't beat people up. Well, that's the higher authority. But when you go into someone else's property, you do have to submit yourself to someone else's authority. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they say that you can't, so if they put up a thing to block the self checkout, you can't use self checkout anymore. Well, what are you going to do? Just say, I'm not submitting to human authority and just go through it? No, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, give yourself the choice. You don't have to consent to go in there. But it's a little bit different when it's the state pointing a gun at you saying you shall, even though the Constitution says they shall not.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right. Yeah, it's
yeah, exactly. My body, my choice. Unless it's something. I love that one.
well, it's yeah, it's the American hijab now, isn't it? It's like Saudi Arabia, women being required to wear a scarf over their face. I guess in America it's the same thing.
Right, Americans, and I tell
America's
you,
like Saudi Arabia now.
the same Americans that made fun of Arabs and Muslims, Arabians and Muslims for wearing the burqas and the hijabs and stuff like that. Now they're doing it. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. It's so fun.
those Muslims are
Well,
so those Muslims are so evil and so backwards. They make their women cover their face, just like
look how
America.
stupid they are. Well, it's funny if you look at it with a discerning mind and not just, I mean, because these people don't even see the correlation between the two. To them, it's just like, huh? What are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that I don't want to say they're dumb. What I'm talking about is you're being inconsistent. How about that?
Mhm. Yeah, if you want to wear
I
it,
always forget.
don't tell me to wear
Right. When we're on air, we have to be nicer than we normally talk. Mike.
it. Yeah, I know.
Can't call
Well,
people stupid and retards and idiots and morons, and maroons.
Well, yeah, consider the stuff that we covered in the first part of the show that is extremely important for people to know. So once this is over, as soon as it's over, do a YouTube download and save it to your computer so you can re-upload it later.
Oh yeah, this.
Because there's a good
Yeah, we're
chance
probably
this will
going to
get
get.
taken down.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping it does actually. Be
Yeah.
kind of fun. Put a little star up. Bam. Woo. You know, it's been about 4 or 5 years now, but we went through. There were several months. Actually, what am I thinking? It's been longer than that, Mike. When did we have our? When did you have your little fiasco? That's been a lot of years now. Holy crap, 9 years?
Yeah, that's 9 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, we had. YouTube pulled our videos for a long time, and I raised a stink about it, and wrote them and wrote them and wrote them and wrote them, and they put them all back up after about 3 months, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I would expect this to get pulled.
It might not. I shouldn't say I hope it does. I hope it doesn't because I'd rather people watch it. And just remember that you can Google just Google health mandate or health mandate act if you want to read it. But it's worth your time. It's not that long. It looks like it looks really long when you go through the the beginning with the not the glossary, whatever it's called.
The index.
The index. It looks like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me days to read. But it's 15 minutes, really.
Yeah, it's only altogether it's 39 pages, and that includes all those indexes, so it's not that long.
Yep.
Like
but you'll get to see.
So.
Yeah, you get to see where when your local governor is saying this or that, you'll get to see where he's getting it from.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Mike, I'm sure. Well, no, you're not here. So Alaska is talking about opening up. They're saying next week, barbershops, salons, and different retail stores will be able to open if things stay as they currently are. How nice of them. But they are going to require you to wear a mask in those cases. Now, this is the funny part. They're going to open up restaurants, and but the tables can be for household family members only. The tables have to be set up a minimum of 10 feet apart. And the fun part is, do you have to wear a face mask when you're in the restaurant trying to eat? I mean, that's where you get back to the stupidity of it all. Oh, and you're going to have to, everything's going to be by appointment now. So if you're going in to get your hair done, your nails done, I don't know, mine are okay still. You have to get an appointment. You'll have to set up a reservation to go eat. So,
well, we
but
can
I still wonder about this.
Yeah, we can go out and eat together, right? Because we're brothers, and we can go with brother Christian, and brother Rick, and sister Kim. We can all go out together.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Good enough to me.
Good enough for me.
Meet at the family restaurant on Oh, they're not going to be open Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that reminded me. I got an email here just a little bit ago. The radio station said that we could come back and do the show from KFAR again.
Oh, do we need to wear masks?
He didn't say, actually.
Oh, okay.
Huh, that's interesting. I would not. That's right. Rick has a large household. Darn right. So contemplating. I got to talk to them about that though before we jump back there. I mean, I do enjoy the actual radio to get more interaction with folks that live here, as you know. because like people like Charles and Cecily, I don't think they have internet.
Oh, yeah, that's the
Oh,
one
this
advantage.
Alaska's a little bit different as
Hmm.
far as people that live on the outskirts.
Hmm.
And we know old John Galt. He didn't have no internet. Heck no. I don't think he would allow himself to use it. But anyways, so um, I'll decide whether I'm gonna start that back up or not. And after I
Hmm.
talk to the boys, Mike and Dave, privately about it a little bit, I don't know. Um, I don't know if people would rather we did the Saturday thing. I think we would still do the midweek stuff as we have been because I've been
Hmm.
enjoying that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if, yeah, I think people like having us on the radio. Like you said, a lot of people get to listen to us while they're working.
Hmm.
Um, I know just from when I go, because I usually go to work after the show's over and,
Hmm.
talk to guys, sometimes my guys. And, we had um, a inspector from the Corps of Engineers on this job I was on. He listened one time and he's like, I heard this guy on the radio and he said, I swear it was you. And then he said his name was Josh Bennett. And I was like, man, I only know one Josh Bennett and it sounds just like him. Anyway, I said, yeah, that was me. And he was fascinated. I don't remember what the show was about, but it wasn't very nice about government. I know that because he was like, yeah, you're a little bit out there. I said, depends on who you are. And, but, so after that, he told me that him and the rest of the guys that are in his group, the inspectors and whatever, were getting together on Saturday to listen.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
at
great.
work, which is good because I like government inspectors to stay listening to the show instead of inspecting my job. Anyways. uh,
They probably prefer it too, anyway.
yeah. Yes, they would. So, anyways, they're truck drivers, guys just roaming around. It's easier for them to just flip the radio on and to be able to listen that way instead of popping up YouTube. So there's advantages to it. Disadvantage, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I kind of got, well, I'm not too worried about it now, but kind of got a job that we were counting on. Got COVID. It caught the coronavirus and died.
Mm.
And it was for several years. And it was going to be our meal ticket for a while. And it got corona. It died of the coronavirus. So the cashola is not streaming in. So I'm going to talk to them about that too. So,
yeah.
because it's about $1,000 a month, which when things are going good, that's nothing. But when your job gets coronavirus, and it really did, they shut it down because of what's going on.
Yeah. Was it the oil prices or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Well, if the prices go back up, maybe they will be doing that again.
Yeah. They said that they're pretty hopeful. Well, so essential. It is not essential in that oil prices won't support it. I mean, the job. So if you guys have seen, Conoco's cut like 400 million this year spending, and I can't really talk about it. I can say Conoco because it wasn't them, but some other companies, they've stopped doing what they were going to do. So because oil won't support it. So it's basically on hold. Hopefully it'll come back in a year or so. But that we could segue with that with what Christian was talking about in the South Chinese Sea and also
Strait of Hormuz.
Strait of Hormuz. The other day, Iran sent a few of their little motorboats out to buzz around some kind of missile frigate of the United States, and supposedly the Americans were scared to death. It's funny. We like to think, or not we, Americans like to think that their military is real tough, right? And they tell us, you want to be a man, you join the military, you're going to be a man. We'll even make you a man if you're a woman. And yet, a couple little boats go floating out, allegedly, by a multi-bazillion dollar, highly sophisticated, and these are motorboats with a machine gun, right? A well-armored, heavily armed, with the most sophisticated weapons the world has ever known. Ship goes out, and these little motorboats buzz by it, supposedly. And they say, we were really scared, and it was really dangerous what they were doing. And oh my goodness, what do we do? Grow up. Shut up. Jeez. They don't mind doing that to us, because when I was in my little jet boat out in Valdez a few years back, catching us some silvers, these jackholes and the water was bad. We were heading back in because we were just like, boom, boom, boom. These jackholes in the Coast Guard boat pulled up beside us and were trying to board us, right? And they're throwing lines over to us, pull us over. And I said, hey, let's get back into the harbor up here where the water's not bad and you can do whatever you want. I said, don't do this right now. I had my little girls with me. And they said, no, we're coming aboard now. So they grabbed the boat and they jumped aboard and everything. So, when they can threaten little boats, they don't seem to mind when it's Americans. But when, I guess maybe it's because they're brown, they're scared of them or something. I don't know. Anyways, I'll get off that rant. Trump issued an order today to destroy any of those boats from here on out.
Well,
if they feel threatened.
Well, do we even know that they were Iranian boats? Remember Dick Cheney's little plan of painting up American boats like Iranians and having them attack U.S. ships?
No, we don't. Of course not.
How do we know that's not going on?
No, we don't. And we don't even know, because I don't speak. What do they speak over there? Fuji? Well, no, it's not Fauci. Farsi?
Farsi. Yeah.
Anyway, how about Iranian? I don't speak Iranian. So when they had their little speech about the incident, they might have been saying, what are you guys talking about? We didn't have any boats out there. But the media told us, they said, oh, you guys are a bunch of pansies. We'll do whatever we want. So I thought this, I know you thought this, Mike, the easiest way for them to get oil prices back up is to start a war.
And it's a very convenient time for that subject to come up about shooting at Iranian boats. Because that's that's really the option that's the option that's left is, well, let's have a world war. Then we can employ everyone.
Yeah.
That's what the plan typically is.
Well, it worked in World War II, Mike. We had the Great Depression, then we went to war, and everyone went back to work. Yay! Farce. And Fake news.
Yeah. And I did see a rumor, and I don't know if it's true yet or not, that they were opening up or they were calling back the selective service boards. But I don't know I haven't verified that one yet.
Well, you know that last week they recommended again, but it was something more than just a recommendation, Mike, to have girls put into the draft too.
Yeah, Christian just posted, U.S. Draft Committee was told to update and prepare a few days ago.
Yep.
So, yeah, I guess he's heard it too.
And, if we want to think really outside the box and a little bit crazy, didn't they already set this up in January? When we killed, when the American government killed
the general, I can't remember his name.
Abu I don't remember his name. Shoot, I used to know it really good because we talked about it so much.
Yeah, the guy
And
that
then
was.
Iran
Yeah.
lobbed
Yeah,
a
he
few
was.
missiles back. And,
Yeah. Yeah, he was doing Iranian militias working with the Iraqis,
right, and
fighting ISIS.
ever since the government's been telling us, the U.S. government's been telling us that the Iranian government has said, we have not yet. I mean, I hate it when I just go through. We haven't yet. What do you do when you don't vindicate? We haven't revenged his death. Sorry.
Oh, avenged.
Yes, they haven't avenged his death yet.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't even like the Avengers. How could I forget that? They haven't avenged his death. They've said that over. The government's told us that they said that over and over and over again. And this might sound crazy. We don't speak Farsi. We don't know what they say. It's kind of like when they tell us that the people are chanting "Death to America," "Death to Israel," blah blah blah. Not what they say.
Mm-hmm.
They say "Death to the Zionist regime."
Right.
They're talking about a specific Zionism, and we don't need to get into that. But
and we also have all the rhetoric.
unless you want to.
Yeah. And there's also all the rhetoric about China released the disease on purpose. Trying to push the as much blame onto China as they can. And then I think it's 6 states as of now are trying to sue China, which is and then and they're Congress is trying to remove their immunity from lawsuits. So this just sets the stage for a war with China.
So does that mean the Japanese can sue the United States for nuking them in World War II?
I suppose they could.
Maybe we should finally have that trial.
Yeah. Yeah.
War crimes trial.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're all dead now, the people that should be punished. But hey, they could probably use a few trillion from the old Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Monetize that one.
Well, I'm sure people will be too busy dodging nuclear missiles at that point if it continues.
That could happen.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't want to think about nukes yet.
Not yet. It'd be the
But we could see
fourth COVID run.
We definitely could see some. I mean, it's not out of the stretch. It's not even a stretch of the imagination to think that we could see some actions going on in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it would make all the sense in the world. Saudi Arabia, if you remember when Robert Wenzel was on with us, he talked about the fact that Saudi Arabia has to have $80 oil to keep their social programs going. Saudis don't work. They get paid to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Or, basically they're Americans.
Just like Americans now,
yeah. And they have to have $80 oil to be able to keep their society the way that it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Saudi Arabia, the kingdom itself, they can't afford to not keep that stuff going because, I've read lots of stuff forever that people would revolt so quickly because they don't have anything but what they're given from the government.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, it would fit Saudi Arabia. Who knows what Trump told Saudi Arabia when he got them to cut back on their production, because Saudi Arabia said, heck no, we are not going to cut back. We can't afford to cut back. We're not going to blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they cut back after Trump talks to them. Well, I don't think Trump was putting the hammer down saying, you will do what I say. He wasn't pulling he was pulling the art of the deal, or, hey, tell you what, you do this now, give us a little time. You ever heard of false flags? Well, we're pros over here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and you remember
You ever heard of the Gulf of Tonkin? Wait till you hear the Gulf of Hormuz.
Well, you remember Trump finalized that deal that was started under Obama to give Saudi Arabia $1.5 billion worth of materials just to hangar their new F-15s that they got from America also.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been in the works for a while. But America's more and more like Saudi Arabia now. Americans living off government money and being told to wear masks, and pretty soon they'll be blaring prayers to the state from the federal buildings 5 times a day.
Ooh. Well, they already do that here on base.
Yeah,
they do
that's
their prayers
right.
to the state. Just so people know what we're talking about, when if you're on a military base, at the end of the day they play taps, right? Or no, it's not taps. Taps is at 10. They play retreat. They do the retreat bugle, and everyone on base is supposed to stop what they're doing, no matter what they're doing. Even if you're driving, you're supposed to pull over and get out of your car, face the flag, and everyone knows where the flag is on base. It's in a centralized part. You can't see it or whatever. And if you're a soldier, you're supposed to salute. And if you're a peon, you're supposed to just hold your hand over the heart while it goes on. And I used to get in trouble because I worked on Wainwright. Well, I didn't get in trouble. I shouldn't say it that way. Just people they weren't very happy with me because I made fun of them. One time in particular, I really pushed my luck with them. I was making fun of them, and they were mad. I was like, "What are you guys doing?" Because these guys just stopped. They're all facing the direction of the flag. I said, "What God are you worshiping now?" And they're all sitting there, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" I said, "You guys look just like the Muslims that you make fun of. What are you doing?"
Were you thinking about selling prayer rugs to them too?
They stand up though, so it's kind of, I don't know. Maybe you get them some kind of.
They could carry around a little prayer rug and stand on it.
Yeah, they could stand on it. You could bless it with a flag, so even better, because they would do it without even thinking about it. Make it out of a flag, and then they would be like, "Oh, we're stepping on holy ground." They'd be like, "You're actually stepping on the flag." And like, "What?" Now you got to burn it. Here, let me. Mike, man, bad attitude. We won't get off of this, but I want to jump back because I let it go. Christian was talking about the Gates Foundation and some vaccines they were having in Africa, and there are 9 countries in Africa that are suing the Gates Foundation over their vaccinations because of the absolute horrendous infant mortality and deformations of children that are being born. And they have directly linked it, no doubt about it, to the vaccines. And like what he said, they were using it. They were using those for a test beds. And if that doesn't just boil your blood, it should. I mean, that just pisses me off. These same people that act like they're all, good liberals and stuff like that, and they want to call every white person a racist and blah blah blah. What the crap were they doing?
Yeah, well, India.
They're saying, well, these Africans have a less value. Their lives are less value than us white Europeans, or, I mean, not when you say white, they're just saying these black Africans, their life is less valuable than everyone else's. So we're going to experiment our vaccines on them because we don't give a crap if they die. Because for one, we already think that the world's overpopulated, needs to be cut by 15%. Well, it might as well be Africans because they're worthless anyways. And the rest of them, they might have severe birth defects, but whatever, we'll cull them too. These people are evil. This doesn't have anything about helping out, or they're flat evil. They're devils. They're demonic. They're Satanists.
Yeah, and Bill Gates' foundation got kicked out of India too because his live polio vaccine paralyzed 490,000 kids. I mean, and then you've got the Well, then you go back to the Tuskegee experiments where they intentionally gave people syphilis just to track the spread of syphilis. It's not an accident that it
Americans have been
paralyzes
doing this
kids.
since day one. If we
Yeah.
remember our history right, we used to give the Indians blankets with polio and measles.
Yes.
It was
Exactly.
measles.
Yeah.
Hey, you want
Yeah. It
some
was
nice, pretty blankets with some measles on it
right.
to wipe them out?
Hmm.
That's evil.
Yeah. That's all the vaccine is. It's a chemical warfare or biological warfare agent.
Yeah. And so let's talk about this. When you say that's all it is, so
Hmm.
we're vaccines, to my knowledge, and I haven't studied them a lot, so I'm not going to say I'm an epidemiologist or a virologist or I'm just a humanologist.
Hmm.
I'm a praxeologist. How about that? um, I feel pretty good about that one. Um, so didn't vaccines have a place in history? I mean, because it did stop
Hmm.
some horrible things that humanity dealt with for the entirety of humanity, I imagine.
Hmm.
So vaccines, they were heralded when they were first invented and stuff like that. So why do we feel this way? And there's a reason. I'm just
Hmm.
asking. Why do we feel this way about vaccines now? And yet at the same time can say, hey, yeah, we can look back here and see when the polio vaccine was invented, how it stopped polio.
Hmm.
Or when this vaccine was invented, 100 some years ago, it stopped this or that. What's the difference from then, Michael, and why we would be against a vaccine today?
Right. And I was specifically referring to the COVID vaccine that they're trying to come up with as a biological warfare agent. And yeah, when it comes the the idea of a vaccine is, I don't think, a bad thing at all. I mean, it can work. The problem is it's a great vehicle for a Trojan horse, like the syphilis that they intentionally put in what vaccine? I can't remember what vaccine it was they were giving when they did that, or the vaccines that were given out for tetanus in Africa, where they were giving multiple shots to women, and it turned out that it contained a hormone that caused miscarriages, and they were sterilized for the rest of their life. It was a population
Yep,
control experiment,
yep.
and that was written about in the journal ncbi.gov. It's actually it's a government website for another nation. But yeah, the idea of using a vaccine for trying to prevent a virus is a nice idea, and it can work. But you can't trust the people who are in charge of it, and that's been proven
Right. When this
multiple times.
track record, look at their track record. They've already
Yeah.
been doing this,
Hmm.
and look at what their stated goals, public goals, to cull the herd by
Hmm.
15%.
Hmm.
Bill Gates says the world needs to deplete its population by 15% minimum.
And their ultimate goal
And
is down to 500 million.
right. And it all goes back to their supposed thing with global warming.
Hmm.
All these things intertwine. All these things. None of these things are by themselves. The war on terrorism, COVID-19, or any virus type thing, vaccines and global warming, it's all the same soup. It's all in the
Hmm.
same soup bowl to them.
Hmm.
It's just they pull out a different letter out of their soup bowl. Let's see, I got a V. All right, we're going to work on vaccines. Ooh, I got another V. I guess it's virus time. Ah, global warming. I got a G.
Hmm.
It's all part of their same little game, and they're evil. It's all central planning. They know better than anyone else. We're the elite, and you're the peons.
Hmm.
I just saw that. That peonage was only outlawed in the late 1800s
Hmm.
in America. Like I thought,
I didn't know that.
yeah, kind of interesting.
Uh,
Anyways, sorry. Another random thought that had nothing to do with anything. Uh, yeah. So these things are just, I don't think in the early vaccinations they were putting aluminum and different phosphates and different this and that. They were working on. They worked. I don't know, but from what I do know, they basically were using, human plasma to make a vaccine. And some of the the first vaccines were actually just that. They were taking people that were infected that had recovered, and they would inject some of their blood into somebody else. It was that simple. And that's how they got introduced to the virus. And their body, it was, they figured out the amount to give the person so it wouldn't hopefully kill them, but that their body could recognize and build an immunity to. But that's not what we're talking about anymore. It's not. It's like getting a processed cheeseburger. You're not getting a beef patty with fresh cheese.
Yeah, no, you're getting a soup of animal extract and fetal tissue extracts and all sorts of poisons. So, in fact, but peanut allergies. No one had heard of a peanut allergy until after they started giving vaccines that contained peanut oil as an adjuvant.
Are you kidding me?
Yep, that's the case.
Those dirty rats.
So I don't know. Perhaps that's because. Yeah. Perhaps that's just
people
because it's
don't
never
get to
been
go
identified. But yeah, is it because they were having an autoimmune reaction to the peanut oil whenever they had peanuts?
You know how many people that keeps from having good Chinese food?
I don't know.
That should start a revolution all by itself. I know people that are allergic to peanuts now and now I know why.
Well, possibly.
And they can't have fine Chinese food.
We don't know if that's 100% the case, but yeah, that peanut allergies weren't known about until then.
Huh.
So.
Well, with my little brain, I can put 2 and 2 together and get 4. So I don't know. Anyway, we could probably start to wind down. We've been going for a while. You got anything else? I guess in closing, I would say please download this if you like it, share it, subscribe it, but download it if you want to keep it, just because I'm going to get one of my boys to download it as soon as we're done in case it gets pulled. But also download that act, that health mandate. Take a look at it. While I normally don't suggest to people to read their constitutions ever, pull up the Alaska Constitution and just read the Bill of Rights. Forget all the government crap. Read the Bill of Rights, the Alaska Bill of Rights. And I say that just the same as I say to people that don't believe in, non-Christians, I'll say, when we're talking about different, Christianity and what the Bible says versus what we're being told in churches about war and stuff like that. And I say, listen to what we're saying, because you probably have family members that believe that they're Christians that support war, and you can use this information to maybe change their mind or help educate them. Look at that Constitution, the Bill of Rights in that Constitution, compare it to the health mandate and say, do these things add up? Is this a legal process that they're doing? Right? And of course, we're anarchists. We don't even want them to exist. But part of getting them to not exist is to delegitimize them. That's the greatest, best way to get rid of the state, is for people to not see them as legitimate anymore.
Yeah, and if we point out that they've already violated their own laws and they've lied to everyone, they're delegitimized.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity to delegitimize them. But yeah, just, people should realize that the mandates they're putting out are illegal and they're unenforceable.
Yeah.
So, and they
Also,
have a case for a lawsuit. If they want to sue, they can do that too.
I think we should.
Mm-hmm.
We need to find a lawyer that's got some big feet and ruin it. One that believes in maybe some sort of liberty or constitutionalism or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quick with what we were talking about, guaranteed income and stuff like that in other countries. I've read a couple stories now that some of these states are opening back up, and some restaurant owners were interviewed about, hey, how's it going? Are you excited? Blah, blah, blah. And they said, none of our people will come back to work. They said that their average 40-hour week, the people were making about $500 to $600 a week working for them. And they're getting, in that state, they were getting $1,048 a week. So they told them to jump in the lake. They weren't coming back to work. And a couple of restaurants that were doing deliveries, when they figured out that they could do these roadside, the roadside stuff and home deliveries, they called, after they had just laid off some of their people, they called back and said, hey, we can put you back to work. Well, it was late enough that they had already been getting their unemployment insurance with the federal government's additional $600, and they said, no way. It's not economically feasible for them to go back to work. And it makes sense. You almost can't blame them. If you can do nothing and get $1,100, why are you going to go risk getting injured at work for $6 a week? This is every week.
Right.
You know how hard you have to work to make $4,000 in a month? You have to. Jiminy Christmas! What is going on?
Yeah.
I was doing the math for a family of 4, Mike. If both parents are on unemployment and they get this 2,000, and does anyone know that the next bailout passed today? Or no, it passed the Senate. I think it's in the House now.
Okay.
I believe, unless they pulled it out, the $2,000 a month, the $2,000 a month guaranteed income per adult is in that, and $500 per child, and that's per month, and it goes 6 to 12, minimum 6 months, maximum 12 months. Well, I think I figured out, it was like a family of 4 will make $142,000 a year to not do anything. Now,
is this like the last one where they're just putting it in your account and you don't even apply for it? Or what?
Nope. It goes right into the account. So, we talked a little bit about price inflation. I know I said we were done, but we're not done. We talked a little bit about price inflation before. Holy cow. If every family in America, family of 4 in America, is all of a sudden pulling in $142,000, woohoo! You won't be able to buy peanuts.
Right. Well, yeah, that's and we're like we talked about before, we're going into a period of deflation with shortages of supplies, and so I was thinking, we talked about this on the last show on Saturday a little bit, and I was thinking about this. When they issue money, they have to do it with bonds that are backed up. They basically do a bond swap, right? And remember what they did in 2008? The Fed absorbed bad mortgages and then swapped out cash to the banks. They're going to do the same thing here. So this is going to be a situation where the Fed is going to take the debts, including pension funds, which are all like government pension funds, like the Social Security is 100% government bonds, just absorb that and swap it out for cash. So they're going to reverse mortgage the entire country to get the cash out. So it's kind of like it's kind of like America's preparing to die, reverse mortgaging itself until the end.
It's unbelievable.
It is.
I think that we will see some deflation on stuff
Mm-hmm.
that we don't use anymore, basically. And it could be a lot wider than what we know now, Mike, because
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what the new normal is going to be when people are so somewhat, supposedly get back to normal. We don't know what we're going to shun, what people are going to shun. Like, I don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we have to, I would think, see price inflation for things that we want. There's
Well,
just
yeah,
too
and
much stinking cash hitting the market.
yeah,
Everyone can't make $142,000.
right. No, and when I'm talking about deflation, I'm talking about relative to other currencies. So
Right,
you'll still,
right.
yeah, so you'll still see the relative value of the dollar going up, but you're going to see price increases because of the shortages that are happening. Who's going to want to go back to work to produce this stuff when they're just being paid 100 and some $1,000 a year just to sit at home?
Well, I was going to bring this up for the next show, but we might as well because what the heck? I don't got
Mm-hmm.
anything to do. I'm in self-isolation. No, I'm not. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, supply shortages. Um, Methanol. And Rick was actually asking us to talk about this a little bit. So maybe we should just bump it a little bit and then really study it a little bit for Friday's deal.
Mm-hmm.
But, or is this Friday's? No, it's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. Wednesday.
Yeah. Methanol. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Methanol production last year, for some reason, the almighty Trump did some law, executive orders or something or whatever. And I think he somehow forced methanol to cut back so much.
Mm.
Well, methanol is what they use to make CO2.
Mm-hmm.
And so methanol is now down to 33% of normal production. And these factories, these plants that make methanol are closed. They're not like, we cut production back. They lock the doors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, CO2, you can imagine, is used on just about everything. Every food that's packaged, the CO2 is used to pull. I guess it pulls out the oxygen, right? And
Yeah, it's just a replacement gas.
okay, and your soda pops,
Mm-hmm.
it's used in. So it's not, not that that's important, but it's still a commodity that people use. But the food side of it, this article, it's on Target Liberty. Oh man, I'm not as good as Dave by any stretch because I'd already be pulling this up on Target Liberty. The point of the article is basically that we could see food shortages just from the fact that they won't be able to, the packaging is going to go down. They won't have the means to package. You say something while I look for this. It's a great article. Okay, I got it. In fact, I'll just read it. Emerging shortage of carbon dioxide gas, CO2, caused by coronavirus pandemic may affect food supply chains and drinking water. Yep, I'm glad I looked it up. This emergency planning document from the state of Washington, the document, a COVID-19 situation report produced by the State Emergency Operations Center, or SEOC, make it sound important. Sorry. I can't cough right now because I injured myself. Anyways, the document says that ODW is still responding to the difficulties. The COVID-19 report produced by the State Emergency Operations Center contains a warning from the state's Office of Drinking Water about difficulties in obtaining CO2, which is essential for the process of water treatment. The document says that the Office of Drinking Water is still responding to the day's notification of national shortage of CO2. It continues that several water plants have received initial notification from their vendors that their supply will be restricted to 33% of normal. So far, utilities have been able to make the case that they are considered essential to critical infrastructure and have been returned to full supply. However, you want to ask if the U.S. cybersecurity infrastructure security can assess this through their contacts if this is sustainable given the national shortage. So air gas is apparently the one that supplies the CO2. Anyways, I'll just put this up for folks to read because it's pretty interesting. You know, I talked with my brother about, and we were just kind of chatting, and I said, you know, I wonder if this will somehow affect the city water systems at all. And having no idea, I was thinking more like, you know, they're going to say, city water is infected. Brr, we got to put fluoride back in. That kills coronavirus. But if you go to that, the coronavirus CO2 shortage on Target Liberty. And again, folks, I visit Target Liberty and Economic Policy Journal 3 or 4 or 10 times a day because not only are the articles good, they've got some dudes on there like Rick who makes some awesome comments in the comment section. So definitely hit him up often. Hit him up often. And again, download that thing with the Emergency Medical Act mandate. Get into your mindset that even though probably people watching this right now don't have to think about it, they know it can't be legal what they're doing. It's definitely not right, and it's probably not legal. And it's also new. These are all new things that even the government's doing, right? They say it all the time. Well, we've never really been in this situation before. So it stands to reason that they would be making a lot of mistakes that they haven't thought about because no one's brought it up or said, you can't do that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, and Rick, you're a loser. You still work? Wow. You need to just get a video podcast going. Forget that. I mean, even let's see, 12, 24. Even a family too. You guys knock down 48,000 a year. Do pretty good on that.
They may just be doing this to get people used to having some cash until they need them all for World War III. They all get drafted. They want to keep their checks coming in.
Mike, I don't want to have World War III.
Yeah, I know, but it's always a bait and switch with them.
Yeah, good point. Can't really be legal. It's definitely not lawful.
Right.
All right, I guess I'm done. We better hurry because I'll think of something to take us down another rabbit hole here any second.
Yeah, we better get off so we can make a copy of this and then repost it because it's going to get booted, I'm sure.
It might. And Rick, we'll delve into that some more because supply side for our goods, food and stuff like that, it's definitely worth looking into just to be, you know, I guess it's the toilet paper may not be the only thing you need to maybe get a little bit extra of.
Yeah, maybe some CO2
may not
also.
be the only thing. Or methanol.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. Hey, Mike, thanks for jumping on with me. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And the rest of you folks, thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys. And help not just share the word about this, but, you know, tell you, hopefully we've spread some education about stuff we're looking at. Like I said, we don't know everything. We don't attempt to say we know everything. We're just bouncing ideas off with each other and with you, and you guys bouncing back, you know, and bounce the ideas off with people that don't think like we do. That's how we win. You know, it's the spreading of ideas. It's the hearts and minds. We said that from day one. I know everyone here believes it. It's hearts and minds. It's not World War III, Rambo revolution, shoot everyone and kill everyone, then we'll all be free. It's It's the hearts and minds. And I'm of the belief that one person's worth it. And I don't mean like, we shut down the world to save one life, but if we can change one mind, then we've done some good. And I know we can. And it's not one, it's many, many more. We've seen that right here in Fairbanks since we started the show. I'm positive of that. So, all right, take care. We'll see you guys Friday. We'll try to get back to the normal schedule, which I think is 12:30 or 1 Alaska time. And like I said, Saturday, I'll be talking to the station again tomorrow a little bit about that. I'm not sure if we're going to go back to radio. I would like to because it is fun. But either way, we'll be broadcasting that on YouTube also. So, guys, take care. Be safe. Don't get sick. Don't take the vaccine. And remember, you got to don't fill out the paperwork. And remember, it's not legal. It's not a law. Even the state troopers have admitted that it's not. So,
however, remember, if you do fill out that paperwork and you falsify it, then they can get you for perjury.
Don't do that.
So you're better off just not filling it out.
Or if you do fill it out, put a little thing in there that says, you can only do this for 10 days. And then you have to have a court order. Educate them. All right, we're out. Take it easy. Thanks for watching Patriots Lament. We'll see you in a couple days.
Later.